Today we're going to talk about how to get the area and circumference of a circle. Hopefully this is somewhat of a review, but I'm going to give some extra examples which you may not have seen before. So I want to start with area. The area of a circle refers to the inside, how much is covered on the inside. So that's a two-dimensional measurement. And we have a formula for area, and it's pi times the radius squared. And remember, the radius is the distance from the center of the circle to any point on the circle. So let's jump right into an example. Find the area of a circle with a radius of 3 millimeters. And I'm putting units in here so we remember what kinds of answers we get. So we simply follow our formula, and the area is going to equal pi times the radius, which they're telling us is 3, squared. So 3 squared is 9, so we have pi times 9. We usually write the pi at the end of our answer, so 9 times pi. Now our units are millimeters, and we're covering the amount inside the circle, so it's millimeters squared. Another way to remember that is I could have written the units in the problem and said 3 millimeters quantity squared. And you can see then that the millimeters are going to be squared as well as the 3. All right, let's look at a different one. What if I ask you, find the area of a circle with a diameter of 8 inches? Now this time I'm not giving you r, but I am telling you the diameter. And remember, the diameter is the distance through the circle. It's a chord that goes through the center, so it's twice the radius. So the diameter is 2 times the radius. So if they give you the diameter, you can divide that in half to find the radius. So with the diameter of 8, we know that means the radius is 8 divided by 2, which is 4. So I'm simply going to calculate then the area is equal to pi times 4 squared, which gives us 16 times pi, and our units are inches, so inches squared. Now at this point, I've broken down the assignment, so if you want, it might be easier, instead of trying to do all the pages at once, you might want to go and do worksheet page 1 right now, and then come back for the next example. Alright, so while we're still talking about area, what if I asked you a question like this? Find the diameter of a circle if the area is 25 pi centimeters squared. This time I'm giving you the area, and I want to know what the diameter is. So to do this problem, we're going to be working backwards. So we know that the area is equal to pi times the radius squared. Now there's no diameter in that equation, but that's okay. Because remember, twice the radius equals the diameter. So if we can find the radius, we'll just double that to get the diameter. Now we know what the area is, so I'm going to plug in 25 pi for area. And then I have pi times the radius squared. Well, I'm trying to solve for r. I could divide both sides by pi. That's the opposite of multiply by pi. And the pi's are going to cancel on both sides. So now I have 25 is equal to r squared. How do we solve for r if we have r squared? We take the square root to cancel the square, and we're going to get the positive root of r is going to equal 5. So now I know the radius is 5. Now they're asking for the diameter. Always go back and reread the problem before you think you're finished. What's the diameter? Well, if the radius is 5, the diameter is going to be twice that, or 10. Now what are my units? Well, the area was centimeters squared. The diameter is a linear measurement, so that's just going to be centimeters. So the diameter is 10 centimeters. So now you might want to go to page 2 and work through those problems. Okay, so now that we've worked on area, let's talk about the circumference of a circle. So the area is the amount of space inside the circle. The circumference is the distance around a circle. So if you could think of this circle as made up with string, if I cut the string, it would lay out into a straight line. So it's a linear measurement. So for circumference, our answers aren't going to be inches squared, centimeters squared. The answer is going to be inches or feet or centimeters or millimeters. Now, the formula to find circumference is you simply multiply the diameter, which is the distance all the way across the circle through the center, multiply that diameter times pi. Now you may see a second formula sometimes where you'll see 2 pi r. And I don't tend to use that equation too much. Sometimes students get confused, well there's 2 equations. But I also don't like the order that it's written. I prefer to write this as 2 times r times pi, because we like to put pi at the end of our answer. And then if you look at, well, 2 times r, that's just the diameter. So you don't really need to memorize 2 different formulas. Alright, so let's try a few examples. Find the circumference of a circle with a radius of 4. Now like I said, I'm going to stick to the first formula. Circumference equals diameter times pi. So, they didn't give me the diameter in this problem, they gave me the radius. Well, the radius is only halfway across the circle. I need all the way across the circle. So if that's 4, I know that's 4. So I know my diameter is going to equal 8. So if the radius is 4, that tells me my diameter is 8. And now I'll plug that in, and I get 8 times pi, and these units are in centimeters. So that's all there is to it. Let's try another one. Find the circumference of the circle with a diameter of 9 feet. So this time they are giving me the diameter, so I'm simply going to say circumference is diameter times pi, and I'm going to plug in 9 for the diameter. So I have 9 times pi, and my units are feet. And that's it. So at this point, you might want to go and work through the problems on page 3 of the worksheet. And then come back and we'll do the next example. Alright, for the last example, just like we did with area, we're going to have to work backwards. So for this example, they're telling us the circumference of a circle is 16 pi. Find the radius. So let's write our formula. Circumference is diameter times pi. This time they're telling us the circumference. So I'm going to plug in 16 pi for circumference. I don't know what the diameter is. That's what I'm trying to find. Well, actually, I'm trying to find the radius, but if I can find the diameter, I'll find the radius. So to solve for d, I'm going to divide both sides by pi, and that'll cancel both of those. So I know that the diameter is equal to 16. Now, they want the radius, and we know the diameter is twice the radius. So to find the radius, I'm going to divide the diameter by 2. So 16 cut in half gives me 8. So the radius is going to be 8, and my units were inches, so the radius is 8 inches. Okay, these types of problems are covered on page 4 of the worksheet. You might want to do those before going for the last 2 examples. Okay, one of the last examples says find the area. So we're finding area. Let's write the formula for that. Area equals pi times radius squared. Okay? If the circumference, so they're giving us the circumference, and the formula for that, circumference was diameter times pi. Okay, so to find the area, I need the radius. I have to use the information they gave me to figure out the radius. So let's look at the circumference. They're telling us it's 26 pi, and I know that equals diameter times pi. Well, if I divide both sides by pi, I know the diameter has to be 26. Now I need the radius to get the area, but if I know the diameter, I'll just cut that in half to get the radius. And so the radius is 13, and my units were meters. So I have a radius of 13 meters. Now I can use that to plug in there and get my area. So area is going to equal pi times the radius, which I figured out was 13 squared. 13 times 13 is 169 times pi. And my units here are meters. And remember, for area, it's the inside of the circle, so it's square units. So the area of this circle will be 169 times pi meters squared. All right, let's look at another example. You might want, before we do that, by the way, you might want to go and work page 5 on the worksheet, because that deals specifically with these types of problems. All right, the last example I have says the area of a circle is 225 pi. So they're giving me the area of the circle. They want me to find the circumference. Well, circumference is equal to diameter times pi. So to find the circumference, I got to find the diameter. I have to use the information they gave me to find the diameter. So what did they give me? They gave me area, and I know area is pi times radius squared. So let's see. If I can figure out the radius from this, then I know how to get the diameter, and then I can go figure out the circumference. So let's plug in. The area is 225 pi centimeters squared, and that equals pi times radius squared. Now I can solve this for r. I can find the radius. First, let's divide pi to both sides, so that cancels both of those out. And now I have 225 is equal to the radius squared. So to find the radius, I'll take the square root, which undoes the square. And then I'm going to get r, which has to be a positive value. So r is going to equal the square root of 225, which happens to be 15. So the radius is 15 centimeters. Now, I need the diameter to figure out circumference, and I know if I double the radius, it equals the diameter. So this tells me that the diameter will be 30 centimeters. Now I've got my diameter, I can plug it in here and get the circumference, which is what they asked for. So circumference equals diameter, which I now know is 30, times pi. And my units for circumference are going to be linear, so just centimeters. And there's my answer. Find the circumference, we're done. Now if you go to the last page on the worksheet, page 6, that deals with these types of problems. One last thing I wanted to mention. In all these problems, I didn't use pi on my calculator. I just left pi in my answer. So for example here, the circumference is 30 pi. Well, what I could do is I could grab my calculator and I could type in 30 times and hit the pi key and get an approximation, 94 point, let's say if I round it up, 94.25. 94.25. So the circumference is approximately equal to 94.25 centimeters. So sometimes you'll see problems that ask for an exact answer, and that's when you leave pi in it. Or they'll ask you for an approximate answer and tell you to round to a certain number of decimals. And that's when you grab your calculator and you multiply the number times pi for your answer. Okay, you should be competent now to do all the pages on the last worksheet.